Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. We got to have a big picture conversation on the SEC, okay? So with Georgia's loss, the SEC is obviously down to just Texas in the college football playoff. Texas barely survives against Arizona State, literally one play in the first overtime from losing. And I think it's time to have the big picture conversation about the SEC this season. Because here's the bottom line. This is not a criticism. This is just a reality, okay? Listen, first of all, you go back to the opening round of the college football playoff. I think I was one of the guys that was very vocal. Why are we trying to put a square peg into a round hole? Why are we trying to force Alabama and Ole Miss into this playoff just because Indiana looked bad, just because SMU looked bad? I said, look, just because Indiana looked bad doesn't mean that Alabama is good, okay? And so I bring it up because I was the one fighting for the Big Ten and the ACC and whoever, the Mountain West. And it's not that Alabama or Ole Miss did not deserve to be in. What was obvious was, first of all, I think once you got past about team 5, team 6 in college football, everybody had big flaws this year. But two, if you actually just watch the SEC, by the end of the year, you were like, this league is maybe the best league in college football, but it isn't obvious. It isn't overwhelming. And so you look at the state of the SEC in the postseason. Now, Ole Miss is playing their bowl game right now, so we'll get back to them, on the next episode. Texas is obviously still in this college football playoff. And listen, if they go on to beat Ohio State and win the national championship, they would play the winner of Penn State, Notre Dame for the title. Then, yeah, we can revisit this conversation. But what I truly believe about the SEC this year, what I believe is this. This is my honest opinion, and producer Matt also timestamp this because I think it'll be good for a reel or whatever, a YouTube short. Is what I believe about the SEC is this. I do believe that the middle and the bottom of the SEC is better than any conference in college football, okay? By the end of the year, Florida was awesome. Vandy on any given day could beat you. Auburn on any given day could beat you. Oklahoma clearly on any given day could beat you. But just because the middle and the bottom was better does not mean that the middle, the middle and the top was better. That's not what it means at all. And if you watch these teams all year, you could see it. Alabama did not have an offense when you bottled up Jalen Milroe. Tennessee, by the end of the year, we kind of weren't really sure. What is this passing game with Nico? Is it good? Is it not? Texas. Oh, we're going to talk about Texas in a minute because Sark refuses to change quarterbacks, and I think it's going to cost him a natty. By the way, Georgia all year long had major flaws. That's not a criticism. That is just a reality. If you watch Georgia, most of the year they could not run the football. Most of the year they had issues on defense. This was not an infallible team. This was not Georgia from even last year, let alone 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so this has been a flawed league. And I think the postseason has proven a couple things. Let's talk about the SEC's performance in the postseason because it hasn't been pretty. So Georgia, as the SEC champ, one and done. They're out. Not a knock on Notre Dame. It's just a reality. One and done. They're out. Texas does not look good, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they go on a run. How about this? Tennessee, third best team in the SEC. Gets destroyed by Ohio State. Now, you could say Ohio State's this, Ohio State's that. Well, Ohio State did lose the final game of the regular season. Ohio State did lose twice during the regular season, and Penn State was a play on the goal line away from beating them as well. Doesn't mean that Ohio State didn't belong. Doesn't mean that Ohio State might not be the best team in college football right now. But what it means is it's not, they weren't this unbeatable team all year. So Tennessee loses to Ohio State, gets destroyed, as a matter of fact. Then we all watch the ReliaQuest Bowl, Alabama, Michigan. Alabama, again, flawed team all season long. Could not move the football against Michigan. Part of it is credit to Michigan. Part of it is the fact that once you bottled up Jalen Milroe, they had no offense. Go to an Alabama message board right now. They want Jalen Milroe still has a year of eligibility. They want him out. They want him out because he's not good enough to be a quarterback in the SEC. I haven't even done the segment yet. I will give the benefit of the doubt to Alabama and to Kalen DeBoer because I never believed that Jalen Milroe was the right quarterback for that system. But it doesn't change the fact that he was the starter, that he did play, and that offense was inconsistent all year. Ole Miss, again, as we're recording, they are getting ready to play in the Gator Bowl against Duke. We'll see what happens there, but it doesn't change the fact that Ole Miss did have a loss to Kentucky. It was probably the worst loss that anybody had all season long in terms of legitimate playoff contenders, okay? I mean, even Miami lost to a good Georgia Tech team, lost to a 9-3 future 10-3 Syracuse team. You go on and on down the list. South Carolina had a great season. They did lose to two of the three teams that we believe were in the conversation with them. And so my whole argument with the SEC was pretty straightforward. It was people just want to give the SEC the benefit of the doubt because in previous years they've been great, because in previous years they've been awesome, because in previous years they've been unbeatable. That was never the case this year. And here's the thing that I keep going back to. The SEC was already being given the benefit of the doubt. It's worth noting, by the way, it is worth noting, we understand that, first of all, they play one fewer league game than everybody else. So, first of all, let's just get Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina playing one more league game. Let's see if they can all get through that with 3 losses. But the thing was, Alabama and Ole Miss were already getting the benefit of the doubt. They were going into the final 2 weeks at 8-2. If they won their final 2, they would have both made the college football playoff. Alabama and Ole Miss were ranked ahead of Indiana and SMU. SMU took a loss. Indiana, loses to Ohio State. Both of those teams would have gotten in. The issue was they both lost to unranked teams. Alabama lost to an Oklahoma team that was terrible, okay? The crazy stat on Oklahoma? Let me pull this up really quick because I'm fired up now. Now I'm fired up. Oklahoma, first of all, lost their last 2 games after Alabama. They lost to LSU on the road, and then they lost to Navy in their bowl game. Here's the crazy part, though. Oklahoma lost their previous 4 games against FBS teams. Oklahoma lost their previous 4 games against FBS teams prior to the Alabama game. So basically, if you're taking out FCS opponents, Oklahoma went 1-6 in their final 7 games against FBS teams. They were not some team that got hot at the end of the year and it was a different deal. Ole Miss, at least you can say Florida was a good team by the end of the year. Alabama lost to a bad Oklahoma team. And so the SEC was already given the benefit of the doubt. And I will say, I don't know what the future holds. This stuff is all cyclical. But the one thing that I think is worth noting, I just tweeted it out. Last 366 days as we record here, it's January 2nd, 2025. Since January 1, 2024, Michigan, Ohio State, and Notre Dame have all beaten one SEC team in the college football playoff. Michigan last year against Alabama, Ohio State this year versus Tennessee, Notre Dame this year versus Georgia. By the way, Notre Dame started the year with a win at Texas A&M. Michigan just won their bowl game against Alabama. So if you go through the last 366 days, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Michigan, 5-1 overall against the SEC, 3-0 in postseason play. Well, 4-0 in postseason play, 3-0 in college football playoff games. And so I just bring it up. This is not the SEC of 4, 5, 6 years ago. This is not the SEC of maybe 10 years ago, where Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, and that feels like the real national championship. Where Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M don't even make the SEC championship game, and you feel like, well, if there had been an expanded playoff, that team might have won it all. This league has had flawed teams all year. We're going to get to Texas in a minute, and I'll just wrap by saying this. I don't know what next year holds. I've already started kind of doing the look-ahead stuff to 2025, and listen, I think Florida's going to be really good. I think Auburn's going to be improved. Texas and Georgia and Alabama are all going to be really, really, really talented. Tennessee's going to be good. LSU, by the way, LSU's going all in the portal. And so I just bring it up because next year it might be a different conversation. But we can't just default to the SEC is clearly the best because I say so. It's like, no, you're not. Just watch the games every week. And so credit to Notre Dame, credit to them getting the win. But credit, by the way, to the rest of college football for catching up, because to me, I don't think this Georgia game is the microcosm that proves the SEC is overrated. I do think Alabama getting beat up pretty bad in their bowl game, because you could say they didn't get destroyed, but Michigan got up to what, a 13-0 lead, and then basically just sat on the football the rest of the game. Michigan, Alabama losing their bowl game, Oklahoma losing to Navy, Tennessee getting destroyed by Ohio State. You go on and on down the list. I just think it was a bad bowl season, and I think it proves this wasn't the best league in college football this year, or at least if they were the best league, they shouldn't be given the indefinite benefit of the doubt. A 9-3 Alabama team shouldn't get in over an 11-1 Indiana team just because you say so, Twitter follower with 72 followers. Like, I'm just sorry. It's not the case. Congrats to Notre Dame. Notre Dame wins the Sugar Bowl. And man, oh man, what a conversation that was. What a game that was.